Hey there, BookTube. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing my March TBR. I still have not decided on the books that I want to read in March, even though it's already March 4th. But I have a huge array of books to choose from. And so I decided to share with you some of the books that I'm considering, and maybe you can help me choose. I already started off reading Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. This is a collection of short stories that I got in order to write a review, and I'm still working on it. I am on page, I think I'm on the 8th story, 8th of 12. So I'm working on that. I should be finished with reading that tonight. Another book that I started off reading is We Need New Names by Novailette Bulawayo. I think I probably just butchered her name. She's from Zimbabwe, and this book was a finalist for the Man Booker Prize in 2014, and I saw it in the bookstore. I'd never heard about this book before, but I was intrigued by the cover as well as by the synopsis, and the fact that this was a Man Booker Prize finalist. I just wanted to read it, so I started off. I am somewhere in the middle of the first chapter, and so these are the two books that I'm starting off the month with. I know that much. The rest of the books are kind of up for grabs. In the month of March, I'm planning to participate in the Borrow-a-thon, Read-a-thon, which goes from March 19th to March 26th, I think. And that is to read books that you've borrowed from some source. So books that you've borrowed from the library or from a friend or a family member or from one of those book exchanges on the street. I don't have any of those near me. I live in Manhattan, but I get a lot of books from the library, and so I'm going to share with you some of the books that I have from the library that I'm considering. I have a lot of books that I plan to get to in February, books to commemorate Black History Month that I just didn't get to because I kind of shifted my reading from books by African American authors to reading books by authors of African descent, but people who live in other parts of the world or who are from other parts of the world, not just the United States. So I still have a lot of books by African American authors to include on my March TBR, and so here's my mishmash. So I have these two books that I'm starting off the month with. I also have Queen Sugar by Natalie Bazile. This is the inspiration for a series on, I think it's the Oprah Network on TV, the OWN Network on TV. I've never watched the series, but I am interested in the story and I like the cover. It's also by an African American author. Her name is, I just told you her name, Natalie Bazile. I'd like to get to this in March. I have Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I've heard her name so many times, I don't know why I'm still so unsure of myself if I'm saying it right. I don't really know what this book is about, but I'd love to read it, and so I have it on my list in March. I'd really like to get to this book in the next week or so. I have these two books by Kimberly Lawson Roby. She's an African American author. She's an African American author. I don't know if you can see her picture in here, but she writes mostly novellas, and so I have these two novellas by her that I would like to read. I've read a book by her sometime before. I can't remember what it's called, but I would like to read these books by her pretty soon. I have Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. I started reading this in 2016 and I didn't finish it. I made an active decision to stop because I was also writing a lot of poetry at the time and I didn't want to be too influenced by her writing and maybe kind of steal her style or copy her style in one of my poems. So I'd stopped reading this book, and so I'm gonna have to start again. I only got to about 1/3 of the way. I got to page 88 and it is a 300-page book, so I plan to read this in March, and I think it should be a quick read because some of the poems are pretty short. It's a memoir written in poetic verse, and I really like the cover of this book. I'd like to own it at some point, but first I have to finish reading it and decide if I want to buy a copy. I probably should, regardless, right? Anyway, I also have Ruby, which was a book that everyone talked about in 2016, but that I didn't get to. Ruby by Cynthia Bond. This, I think, was one of those books that was on the Oprah's recommendation. It is the epic, unforgettable story of a man determined to protect the woman he loves from the town desperate to destroy her. This beautiful and devastating debut heralds the arrival of a major new voice in fiction. and this is by Cynthia Bond. I'm not sure if she's African American. It's a little hard to see from this picture, but it doesn't matter. I want to read this book. The only reason that I'm concerned about books that are about African Americans being written by African Americans is that a lot of my diversity challenges have to do with own voices books, own voices stories, which I feel like ring a little bit more authentic when I read them. So I still want to read this though, regardless of whether it's written by African American or for an African American audience or otherwise. I really want to read this because I know a lot of people have. Also on my list to choose from, I have The Wrath on the Dawn and The Rose and the Dagger, the duology by Renee Ahdieh. I have both books and they're both from the library, and I need to read them soon before they become due, because I don't think I'll be able to renew them when they are due. So I'd like to read these soon. This is a retelling of the 1001 Nights, 1001 Arabian Nights fairy tale story. I would like to read these at some point, hopefully in March. Otherwise, I might not be able to read them until much later in the year. Another book that I have from the library, I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This I think was her debut novel, and it was critically acclaimed by like everyone. And this book got a lot of attention and a lot of praise. I think in 2016 was when it was released. And no, it's from 2014. This book is from 2014 and I still haven't read it. It's terrible. It's terrible. So I'm gonna read it. I think it's a young adult fiction though, which I really wasn't reading a lot of young adult fiction in 2014. So there's a reason for all of that. And then to round out the rest of my TBR are some nonfiction books. In February, I didn't read a lot of nonfiction, and my goal is to read at least 40 nonfiction in 2017, which means I need to get going. So I have this short poetry collection, which is 20 poems and a story entitled Nevermind by Taha Muhammad Ali, and it's really small, so I think I could knock this out in like an hour or two. I have this book that I already started reading, which is entitled Purple Cow. It is about how to transform your business by being remarkable. It's by Seth Godin, and there are lots of remarkable things about this book. First, the idea that there can be a purple cow, and he even has a picture of a purple cow on there. The cover itself is a purple and white kind of cow skin pattern, and look at this, it's purple. My favorite color, my absolute favorite color. I love this. I love this. I started reading it and it has a lot of really good information, and you can tell I'm somewhere in the middle of that. So this is nonfiction 1, nonfiction 2. Those are my first two nonfiction picks. I'm also reading Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. I've watched a lot of her videos online. I've watched her TED Talks, but I've never read any of her books, and I've had this one since last year. So I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it this month. This is definite. I have to read this in March. I have Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, who's the CEO of Yahoo. Is she from Yahoo? She was from Facebook. I have Lean In, which is about women, work, and the will to lead by Sheryl Sandberg. She is a former CEO of Facebook. Was she the CEO? Yes, she was a former CEO of Facebook. I'm not sure what her job is now, but I've been wanting to read this book for a long time, ever since I read Thrive by Arianna Huffington. She quoted this book, and I think they both quote each other, and I'd like to read this. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I want to read it in March. This is my goal. This is my plan. So this is also a definite. Another book that's a definite is this memoir from Sam Walton, Made in America. Sam Walton wrote this on his deathbed. At least that is the rumor. He was dying. He knew he was dying, and he said, I need to share my story. I need to share what I have learned about business with the rest of the world. And so he wrote this book, or at least the notes that he gave to someone were transcribed and made into this book. And I need to read it. I bought it last summer and I still haven't read it. So I will in March. I will. And so these 5 are my nonfiction picks. And I have, let's see. So I have 5 nonfiction and 11 fiction reads. That's 16 books. 16 books that I've set my sights on to read in March 2017. If there's anything on this list that you've read and you think that I shouldn't bother with, leave me a comment down below. Let me know about it, because suggestions would be welcome and highly appreciated. A 16 book TBR is no joke. I've never read 16 books in a month. I've never read 16 books in a month. I don't even know if I can read 16 books in a month. That would be an average of 4 books a week. That would be readathon style reading every week for a month. I guess I could do it. Probably wouldn't be able to do anything else with my life, but I could do it. So we'll see. We'll see what exactly I read. Oh, I almost forgot. I have 2 other books in my TBR. Okay, let me put these down. I also have on my TBR The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead, which I still didn't get to in February. And I also have Homegoing by Yak Gyasi, also on my TBR, because I didn't get to either one of those in February. So yeah, so now I have 18 books to choose from. So leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think I should read first after I finish my current reads. After I finish my 2 current reads, let me know what you think I should get to next. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Leave me some comments down below. Let's chat. And until then, happy reading.